Good morning, everybody. Lee Brower here. Welcome to this week's edition of Meaningful Monday. I am grateful to be here, and I am glad to be here. You know, William George Jordan, in his book, The Majesty of Calmness, great book, written in 1898. We rewrote it, released it in 2005. But he tells the story of some men in a ship, which during a terrific storm, they were driven far off its course. They felt helpless, disabled. They were carried into a strange bay, and then the water supply gave out, and the crew suffered the agony of thirst, yet they did not dare to drink the salt water. In the last moment, they lowered a bucket over the ship's side and in desperation drank what they thought was seawater. But to their joy and amazement, the water was fresh, cool, and life-giving. They were in a freshwater arm of the sea, and they did not know it. All they had to do was simply reach down and accept the life-sustaining water for which they craved. Now, the point of this in The Majesty of Calmness is that sometimes we can be so caught up with world distractions, a current situation or a difficulty, and we fail to see or realize that many of life's problems, the answers to life's problems, are right there within our reach. How many times has that happened to you? But you know, the way I look at this too is a great example of poor leadership. And one of those elements of leadership, with great leadership, could they have solved this much earlier? And what are the principles of leadership that as we examine this, that we could bring and put into our own lives as leaders in our homes, leaders in our communities, and leaders in our businesses? I think that if they would have followed a formula, let me just share the formula with you. First, you begin in abundance. And by that, we begin in gratitude, right? In gratitude. You don't have to be grateful that you're stranded out there in the boat. You don't have to be grateful that you don't have the water to drink. But what is it that you can find that you can be grateful in? You're in there with some camaraderie, with some pretty smart people. We've got our strength. We've got our thinking. We have our creativity. We have our hope. And hope is one of the strongest motivators that there is. And the opposite of hope is discouragement. And discouragement is penalizing. And so we could find good things that we could be grateful for. The second thing is then we challenge. We challenge traditional thinking. We ask questions. So we begin in gratitude. We then ask. Even if things are going well, a leader's responsibility is to continually challenge the traditional thinking. What is working? How do we make it even better? And you do that by asking questions. And what can we do? How can we elevate? What small step can we take right now? How salty is that water? Stick your finger in it. Taste it. Tell me how salty. Oh my goodness, it's not salty at all. You see, if you be in motion and get out of that, we have to, you can start to get answers. And then you get in motion. Once you ask a question, what's the smallest step I can take today that will move me closer to this? If you, every time that you say, I need to, I have to, I got to, if you can replace it with a question, and if you can teach that to your teams, if you can teach it to your families, imagine your child comes up to you, instead of saying, you guys need to buy me a new pair of shoes. Everybody on our team has basketball shoes with the Nike logo on it. What if they came up to you and said, I really love those Nike shoes. Everybody on our team has them. What can I do to be able to get me a pair of Nike shoes? What small things can I do to get them going? Shift that mindset to where we start focusing in on solutions rather than the problems. So we approach it with abundance by being in gratitude. We ask empowering questions. We don't sit around and say, I need to, I have to, I got to. And then we get in motion. And once we're in motion, then we can make adjustments. We can rinse and repeat. By staying in gratitude, continually challenging what's working, we will find our way out of there. See, it didn't end by just picking the bucket up and drinking the water. They still had to get out of the bay. And so I'm sure that there's some adjustments that had to be made along the way. So let's not lead by dumping our buckets in the water at the last moment. Let's always focus on being that abundance attitude. Let's stay in gratitude. Once we're staying in gratitude, we can challenge what's working and what's not working, but challenge even those things that are working. The enemy of thriving is arriving, so we challenge what is working. How do we make it even better? And then we get in motion. And once we're in motion, we can make the small adjustments that we need to get to where we're going. In these times, it's the perfect thing for us as leaders to focus in on more than ever. More than ever. Our families are counting on you. Your companies are counting on you. Your colleagues are counting on you. Our community is counting on you. Let's lead life deliberately. Find your empowering question this week. When instead of saying I need to, do it one time. Instead of saying I need to, have to, got to, just replace it with an empowering question and see what happens. Have a meaningful week. We'll talk next week. Bye-bye.